Greetings. Thank you for lending an ear to the Voice of the Times for Thursday, July 7, 2022. For today's editorial, Supreme Court ruling a slap in the face to Filipino consumers. The Supreme Court decision on Tuesday lifting a nearly decade-old injunction against a 22.64 billion peso rate hike sought by the Manila Electric Company or Meralco was a travesty, a shameful demonstration that presents the appearance of a willingness on the part of the High Court to turn a blind eye to consumer welfare in order to accommodate rent-seeking business interests. By a 6-5 vote, the Supreme Court rejected petitions filed by party list Bayan Muna and the consumer group National Association of Electricity Consumers for Reforms or NASECO. They had accused the Energy Regulatory Commission or ERC of failing to follow due process and committing a grave abuse of discretion in approving the staggered increase sought by Meralco in December 2013, but the ruling penned by Associate Justice Joseph Lopez concluded that the ERC acted within its authority. Associate Justices Ramon Paul Hernando, Rosmarie Carandang, Henry John Paul Inting, Mario Lopez, and Samuel Gerlan concurred with Lopez's ponencia, while Chief Justice Alexander Gesmundo and Associate Justices Marvic Leonen, Amy Lazaro Javier, Rodel Zalameda, and Ricardo Rosario dissented, Leonen and Lazaro Javier doing so in particularly fiery terms. The ruling lifted a permanent injunction against the rate increase that the High Court granted in April 2014 after a series of temporary restraining orders had been issued, paving the way for Meralco to collect the rate hike from its consumers. It had originally sought and was granted approval by the ERC to collect an additional 9.1070 peso per kilowatt-hour generation charge, which was to have been staggered between consumers' December 2013 and February 2014 bills. The justification for the unprecedented rate increase at the time was the temporary shutdown of the Shell Philippines Exploration BV or SPEC's Malampaya gas operations and the scheduled maintenance of other power generation plants, which Meralco said forced it to buy much higher priced electricity in the wholesale spot market. However, it was discovered at about the same time that one of Meralco's electricity suppliers, Therma Mobile, had manipulated the wholesale cost of electricity in the spot market, something for which Therma Mobile was subsequently fined 234.9 million pesos by the market operator. That fine is currently on hold, as the case is now before the Court of Appeals. Where the issue concerned the ERC, as was reported here in the Manila Times in January 2014, was in the ERC's rejection of two provisions in the power supply agreement between Meralco and Therma Mobile that would have likely prevented the price manipulation. While Meralco at the time did not, perhaps for obvious reasons, cite supply problems from the Therma Mobile installation as a reason for the huge rate hike request, the fact that the price Meralco paid for electricity was and still is highly questionable should have been taken into account by the Supreme Court, particularly as the source of that uncertainty could be traced to action on the part of the ERC, the subject of the rejected petitions by the consumer advocates. Coming as it did not on the very same day that it was announced that price inflation reached its highest level in more than 3 years, the Supreme Court ruling is a bitter blow to Filipino consumers. Of course, the court decides questions of law and not economics or consumer sentiment. But it is disappointing that the prevailing environment did not inspire the justices to consider the case more carefully. Plainly speaking, they got it wrong, and given the sharp division in the justices' vote on the matter, it is clear that the final decision is not as conclusive as it should be. A decision by the Supreme Court must be accepted because that is the way things work, but we are not obliged to endorse or agree with it, and we do not. We can only hope that this apparent miscarriage of justice might encourage a long-needed re-examination of the ERC's exercise of its regulatory powers, and perhaps even the presentation of a better constructed case for the Supreme Court to try again. In the meantime, we will be watching closely how the ERC and Meralco handle the impending rate hike, and we will expect it to be done in a manner that properly respects the need to minimize the burden on consumers. And that's the editorial for Thursday, July 7, 2022. For more news and information, get a copy of the Manila Times on print. Subscribe to its digital edition or log on to www.manilatimes.net. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. And listen to the Voice of the Times.
Our longest trusted English newspaper since 1898. Now available digitally. Computer. Order the Manila Times Digital Edition. Subscribed. Get the Manila Times Digital Edition for less than 2 pesos and 50 centavos per day when you sign up for 1 year. The Manila Times, news source of choice, trusted since 1898.